In November 2021, Henry Ruggs III, a rising star for the Las Vegas Raiders, made a single tragic decision that would forever alter his life, his career, and the lives of others. At just 22 years old, Ruggs had the world at his feet. Drafted in the first round, he was known for his blazing speed and game-changing talent. His future was not only promising, it seemed inevitable. Stardom, success, legacy, all within reach. But in the early hours of one fateful morning, everything unraveled. Behind the wheel of his Corvette, driving at 156 miles per hour while intoxicated, Ruggs collided with another vehicle. The crash killed 23-year-old Tina Tintor and her dog, ending a young life full of dreams and leaving a community in mourning. What followed was not just a fall from grace. It was a haunting reminder of how one moment can change everything. The rapid rise of Henry Ruggs III. A dream begins in Alabama. Before the lights of Las Vegas, Henry Ruggs III lit up the football field at the University of Alabama. A speedster with elite athleticism, Ruggs was not just fast, he was electrifying. In a program known for producing NFL talent, he stood out. Every time he touched the ball, there was a chance for something spectacular. He became known for his deep threat ability, his crisp route running, and the kind of speed that left defenders gasping for air. NFL scouts took notice, and so did the fans. At Alabama, Ruggs turned heads not only with his performance, but with his work ethic. He played with a hunger, like he had something to prove every single snap. For many, he represented the new wave of dynamic, game-changing receivers. He was not just a highlight reel, he was a rising star with discipline, character, and fire. The promise of a bright future. In 2020, the Las Vegas Raiders selected Ruggs as the 12th overall pick in the NFL draft. It was a statement move. The Raiders needed a playmaker, someone who could stretch defenses and ignite excitement in a city built on spectacle. Ruggs was that player. The moment he put on the silver and black, expectations skyrocketed. He delivered flashes of brilliance early in his rookie season. Long touchdown catches, clutch plays, the kind of explosiveness that could shift momentum in a heartbeat. Raiders fans began to dream. Henry Ruggs was not just a first-round pick, he was the future of their franchise. Off the field, things looked just as promising. Ruggs had a young daughter. He talked about family, about using his platform to create change, and about staying focused. He spoke like a man aware of the responsibility that came with fame. His story seemed destined to be one of success. A young man rising from humble beginnings to NFL stardom. But underneath the surface, pressure was building. The weight of expectation, the pull of the nightlife, the challenges of sudden fame, it all quietly began to take its toll. And while the football world marveled at Ruggs' talent, very few saw the storm that was slowly forming behind the scenes. It only took one night to change everything. A single decision, a single drive, and everything Henry Ruggs III had worked for, his career, his future, and most tragically, another life, would never be the same again. The night of the fatal accident, a moment that changed everything. It was the early morning hours of November 2nd, 2021. The streets of Las Vegas, usually alive with bright lights and pulsing energy, were quiet. But on that night, something irreversible was about to unfold. Something that would leave scars on families, a franchise, and a promising young life. Henry Ruggs III was behind the wheel of his Chevrolet Corvette, speeding down Rainbow Boulevard at a mind-numbing 156 miles per hour. Just moments before, he had been seen at a local golf-themed bar with his girlfriend, enjoying drinks and laughter. But beneath the surface, alcohol was dulling judgment, clouding awareness, and sharpening danger. His blood alcohol concentration was later measured at 0.16, twice the legal limit in Nevada. He was not just speeding, he was impaired, unaware, and barreling toward disaster. In an instant, his Corvette slammed into the back of a Toyota RAV4 driven by 23-year-old Tina Tintor. The impact was catastrophic. The consequences unfold. The Toyota erupted into flames almost immediately. Witnesses reported hearing screams from inside the vehicle. But by the time help arrived, it was too late. Tina Tintor and her dog, Max, were trapped. They both perished in the fire, their lives stolen in a moment too horrific to comprehend. Ruggs's car, now mangled and smoking, sat nearby. He and his girlfriend survived the crash, though both sustained injuries. Police arrived swiftly. The scene was devastating. A once celebrated NFL athlete, sitting on the pavement, visibly shaken, as first responders fought a losing battle with the inferno just feet away. Tina Tintor's family would later describe her as full of dreams. She was a Serbian immigrant, working remotely and studying computer programming. She was just months away from becoming a U.S. citizen. She had a future, plans, people who loved her. All of it gone in a single, tragic moment. For Henry Ruggs, the consequences arrived quickly. He was arrested at the hospital and charged with DUI, resulting in death and reckless driving. The Las Vegas Raiders acted within hours, releasing him from the team. In a flash, the young man once celebrated for his speed was now at the center of a national tragedy. The NFL world was stunned. Fans, players, and coaches were left in disbelief. A rising star had made a decision with irreversible consequences. It was not just about football anymore. It was about responsibility, accountability, and a young life that had gone off course in the worst way possible. Nothing could undo what had happened. No apology, no regret, no explanation would ever bring Tina Tintor back. That night was more than a crash. It was a loss, a heartbreak, and the beginning of a painful public reckoning for Henry Ruggs III. The fallout, immediate impact on Ruggs' career, the Raiders act without hesitation. The news spread like wildfire. Just hours after the crash, before the dust had even settled on the twisted wreckage, the Las Vegas Raiders made a decision that shocked but did not surprise anyone. They released Henry Ruggs III. A statement from the organization was brief and firm, offering condolences to the victim's family and confirming Ruggs' immediate release. For a franchise already battling instability, this moment was more than just a personnel change. It was a moral line drawn in the sand. One day, he was the future of the team, the first wide receiver selected in the 2020 NFL Draft, expected to be the centerpiece of an evolving offense. The next, he was gone, just like that. There were no press conferences filled with hope, no talk of second chances. There was only silence, swift action, and the painful realization that sometimes talent is not enough to outweigh consequence. The NFL followed closely. As the legal case began to unfold, the league suspended Ruggs indefinitely. No appeals, no delays. It was clear, this was not a situation where football could continue. There would be no touchdowns, no comeback stories. Not yet, if ever. A shattered image and stunned public. The reaction from the public was immediate and intense. Across social media, fans who once celebrated Ruggs' speed and potential now mourned the loss of a young woman's life and struggled to comprehend how it had come to this. The disappointment was palpable. Some were angry, others heartbroken. Teammates who had shared locker rooms and dreams with Ruggs were left in shock. Many remembered him as soft-spoken, a quiet, humble young man from Montgomery, Alabama, who had overcome personal tragedy in high school and fought his way to the national spotlight at Alabama. He had honored his late friend by holding up 3 fingers after every touchdown, a tribute to the life he lost as a teenager. And now he was the one responsible for another life lost. Media outlets covered every angle. Analysts who had once praised his footwork and deep threat ability now questioned his judgment, his decisions, and his future. Talk shows that had once debated his upside were now discussing prison time and accountability. The narrative flipped overnight, from hopeful to tragic. For the Raiders, it was more than a roster change. It was a cultural blow. The team had taken a chance on Ruggs, believed in him, and watched him fall not from a bad game or poor performance, but from a mistake that would haunt everyone involved. For Ruggs, the helmet was gone. The jersey folded away. The dream paused, maybe forever. In just one night, everything changed. His career, his image, his future, all engulfed in the flames of a single, irreversible decision. Legal consequences, facing justice, the arrest and the weight of the law. The silence of that early November morning was soon shattered, not just by the sound of impact, but by the sirens that followed, the headlines that exploded, and the handcuffs that marked the fall of a young man once destined for greatness. Henry Ruggs III was arrested at the scene, visibly shaken, injured, and reeling from the realization of what had just occurred. The gravity of the situation was immediate and inescapable. His blood alcohol content was measured at twice the legal limit. The data showed he had been driving at a staggering 156 miles per hour before the crash. What began as a night out spiraled into a legal nightmare that would dominate the next 2 years of his life. Prosecutors wasted no time in filing charges: DUI resulting in death, reckless driving, vehicular manslaughter, and possession of a firearm while under the influence. The charges were not simply procedural, they were a public declaration that no amount of fame, fortune, or past achievements could shield someone from the consequences of such reckless behavior. Bail was set at $150,000. Ruggs was placed under strict house arrest with alcohol and location monitoring. But beyond the physical restrictions was something heavier: the weight. The long, painful legal process had begun, and the outcome would determine the future not just of an athlete, but of a human being facing unimaginable loss and regret. The sentence and the closing of a chapter. Nearly 2 years after the crash, in August 2023, Henry Ruggs stood in a Las Vegas courtroom to receive his sentence. The room was filled with tension, sorrow, and a sense of finality. Before the judge, he addressed the family of Tina Tintor, expressing remorse for the pain he had caused and accepting responsibility for his actions. The court sentenced him to 3 to 10 years in prison. For some, the punishment felt too lenient. For others, it was a fair consequence. But for Ruggs, it marked a moment of reckoning. His football career, once so full of hope, was officially over. His dreams suspended indefinitely behind prison walls. Yet the sentence was more than legal. It was emotional. It served as a chilling reminder of how one choice, one moment, can destroy lives, erase futures, and leave behind a trail of heartbreak that no apology or time can ever truly mend. The courtroom fell quiet again, and with that silence, a chapter closed. One that began with promise and ended in tragedy. Personal reflections. Ruggs' emotional struggles. Living with the unthinkable. There is no prison sentence more severe than the one a person carries within. For Henry Ruggs III, that sentence began the moment the crash occurred. Long before the courtroom doors closed behind him, the weight of what he had done had already taken residence in his mind. In interviews and court statements, he has spoken not just with remorse, but with a deep, lingering sorrow that cannot be undone with time. Taking a life is not something words can ever truly atone for. Ruggs has acknowledged this. He has not tried to make excuses. Instead, he has accepted the brutal truth that his actions destroyed not only his future, but the life of Tina Tintor and the joy of those who knew and loved her. He has said that not a day goes by without him thinking about that night, about the pain he caused, about the family that grieves because of him. He has called it a nightmare that he cannot wake from. And even though the world may move on, he never will. That moment is etched into him forever, and the guilt he carries is the harshest punishment of all. The ripple effects on those who loved him. Behind every public figure is a private world of people who love, support, and believe in them. Ruggs' family, once so proud of his rise to NFL stardom, now faces a different kind of reality, one filled with heartbreak, confusion, and unanswered questions. His mother, who watched him rise from a small-town Alabama kid to the national stage, now sees her son through the lens of grief. His partner, with whom he shares a child, must raise that child in the shadow of a tragedy that will never fully fade. His friends and former teammates, many of whom once dreamed alongside him, are left to reconcile the person they knew with the reality of what happened. The emotional toll is not just his to bear. It extends far beyond him, affecting every life he touched. The future they all once envisioned together is gone. In its place is a long, painful journey of healing, a journey none of them asked for. But through the sorrow, one thing remains clear. This tragedy was not only about the loss of a career, or a public fall from grace. It was about lives broken, trust shattered, and the haunting cost of a single irreversible decision. The ripple effect. Beyond the Raiders and NFL, shockwaves through Raider Nation. When the news of Henry Ruggs III's tragic crash broke, it was more than just another headline. It was a deep, emotional wound for the entire Raiders community. Just a year before, fans had celebrated his selection in the first round of the NFL draft. He was supposed to be a game changer, a player who could redefine the offense and bring speed and fire to the franchise. But in an instant, that dream shattered. Raider Nation, known for its loyalty and pride, was left stunned. It was not just about losing a wide receiver, it was about losing a part of the team's future, a symbol of what could have been. For many fans, the emotional investment they placed in Ruggs turned into heartbreak overnight. Jerseys once worn with pride were tucked away. Conversations shifted from game stats to court dates. Inside the organization, the energy changed. Coaches, teammates, and staff who had supported Ruggs from day one were now grappling with disbelief and sadness. The locker room, once filled with hope for the season, felt the weight of something far heavier than any loss on the field. Trust was broken, and a cloud of sorrow hovered over the franchise, a cautionary tale for future generations. Henry Ruggs' story has become more than a personal tragedy. It is a public lesson that echoes far beyond the field. For young athletes rising through the ranks, it serves as a chilling reminder that no amount of talent can outrun the consequences of a reckless choice. Fame and fortune bring a spotlight, but they also come with responsibility. Ruggs had everything: speed, skill, opportunity, and in one reckless moment, it was all gone. Now, his name is no longer mentioned in highlight reels, but in heartbreaking news stories, educational seminars, and cautionary tales told in locker rooms across the country. His story is now shared by coaches, mentors, and parents who are trying to guide young athletes through the pressure cooker of success. It is used to highlight the importance of accountability, decision-making, and understanding that being a professional means more than just performing on Sundays. What happened cannot be undone, but perhaps through the pain and devastation, lives can still be saved. Perhaps Henry Ruggs' fall can stand as a reason for another young athlete to make a better choice. And if even one life is changed because of his story, then the tragedy, though never justified, may at least carry a purpose beyond the pain. The path forward: redemption and regret. A long road to redemption. For Henry Ruggs, the journey that lies ahead is anything but easy. Redemption, if it comes at all, will not be swift, nor will it be simple. Ruggs' story is one of irrevocable mistakes, a young life, full of promise, shattered by a tragic lapse in judgment. The road forward will be long and filled with personal reflection, deep remorse, and a search for meaning in the wake of destruction. Ruggs has publicly acknowledged his mistakes, expressed his deep regret, and vowed to work toward personal growth. But no matter what steps he takes, his legacy will forever be linked to the night that changed everything. A chance at redemption for Ruggs might come through his actions in the future, through the ways he chooses to take responsibility for the lives impacted by his choices. Perhaps in time, he will speak out about the dangers of impaired driving, share his regrets, and work to raise awareness. Perhaps he will rebuild his life in ways that allow him to inspire others who face their own struggles. But the truth remains, his legacy will always be haunted by that one reckless decision. His story is now a cautionary tale for young athletes everywhere, a reminder that even the brightest futures can be destroyed in an instant. The lasting legacy of Ruggs' story. Though Henry Ruggs' career in the NFL ended in disgrace, his story carries a weight far beyond the football field. It is a story that will resonate with Raider Nation for years to come, a reminder of what could have been and the price of a single, devastating mistake. For Ruggs, there will be no escaping the shadow of the crash that killed Tina Tintor and her dog. His story will not be remembered for game-winning touchdowns or flashy plays. It will be remembered for the lives lost and the potential unrealized. His name will forever be tied to a tragic moment in history. But as painful as this chapter is, it is also an opportunity for others to learn. The legacy Ruggs leaves behind is not just one of destruction, it is also a powerful reminder of the importance of accountability, the consequences of poor decisions, and the need to constantly strive for self-improvement. For Raider Nation, Ruggs' story is a scar that will never fully heal, but perhaps in time, it will evolve from a tale of loss to one of deeper understanding. Perhaps it will be remembered not just for the mistakes, but for the lessons it teaches us all about the fragility of life, the importance of choices, and the need to live with integrity on and off the field. The lasting impact, a story of regret and reflection. Henry Ruggs. Third's tragic decision on November 2, 2021, altered the course of his life, career, and the lives of countless others. A rising star in the NFL, Ruggs was on a path to greatness, only for it all to come crashing down in an instant. The life he once dreamed of, full of promise and potential, was shattered by one fateful mistake. Ruggs' actions that night serve as a painful reminder of how quickly everything can change. It is a sobering truth for us all. One moment of reckless behavior can have consequences far beyond what we ever expect. While Ruggs now faces the long road to redemption, his story also calls for reflection on the responsibility that each of us holds, especially when behind the wheel. As we watch Ruggs grapple with the aftermath of his choices, we are reminded that responsibility is not just about adhering to laws. It's about understanding the weight of our actions and their potential consequences. His journey may be far from over, but his tale serves as a warning for anyone who thinks they are immune to the impact of their decisions. We must all do our part to drive responsibly and help prevent tragedies like this from happening again. If you or someone you know has been affected by DUI accidents, it's crucial to seek help and support. Share this story with others, and together, let's create a safer, more responsible future on the roads.